of all, I mean, I don't think it's selfish to want to do well,
Of course.
to advance, to have a good life, to have a good career, for people to accomplish their dreams. I'm assuming that the dreams are uh, not harmful to others. You know,
Sure.
that's my assumption. I always go by that. I also confess that I want people to have the best of both worlds. What I mean by that is that for people, in all honesty, I mean, people who want to learn just to make a lot of money, I'm probably not, they don't need me for that because that's not, although I've had people who have been very successful in business, in the corporate world, the private sector, and so on. So it's not a contradiction. And just people who are thinking only about their own individual success.
I guess it's
That's
more about like,
you know,
always people
but
want to make an impact. So, and they are looking obviously for
I
these
think
kind of patterns, right? To
I think that
emulate them.
people, I think that people who are looking at the possibility of making an impact both publicly and personally, that's the
Mm.
ideal that I'm always looking for. So how do you get ahead? How do you succeed? But the getting ahead and the success are part of a an ambition to make an impact, a positive impact, a public impact, making the world better. I know that that might sound corny, but I really believe in that. And I think that there, again, just to go back to the earlier point, there for me, there's
Sure.
no contradiction between wanting to do well, to thrive personally, and to also see the world around us getting better. There's no reason why this is. Why am I saying this, Armin? Because I think that people, even if they don't realize it, they often are operating under the assumption, and sometimes it's almost unconscious, that there is actually an inherent competition between ourselves and others. We are always in competition with others,
Hmm.
and there's somehow, if we are focused on the outside of us, we're focused on the world, we're focused on the collective, we're focused on other people, then we lose out. We as an individual, I lose out. I sacrifice. I just don't think that's true. And I see it with the people that I've worked with over the years, that I've taught or that I've worked with. It's simply not true. It sometimes the contrary. The most rewarding work and the most remunerating work also is often most public facing work, or the ones that are making an impact on their own careers as well as on the world at large. And then in terms of patterns, I would say, if there's one thing I would identify, it's connected to that point, which is those leaders who are most aware of their surroundings, who make the most effort to know what's going on around them, immediately around them, but also in the world. Can be in the society that they're operating in. It can be in the country that they're based in. It can be in the world at large. Those are the ones who tend to have the most success. Ones who know people best. And the ones that know people best, in my experience, and here I may be a bit skewed, are the ones who know history best.
Hmm.
Because to know history well is to know people. That's what history is. That's what history is. History, it's, I once had a student say to me, I gave a lecture, and a student, actually in China, said to me came up at the end of the lecture and said, well, Professor Temkin, I really like the way you teach history, because you really emphasize the human side of history. And I asked him, what other side of history is there? That's what we're doing. We're looking at human beings. That's what history is. There are geologists who look at the history of the earth. There are other kinds of, astronomers are looking at the history of the universe. Historians, including historians of leadership, are looking at the history of human society. That's what we study. So when you study history and you study it consciously trying to see the connections between the past and the present, and therefore also between the past and the future, then you gain the most insight into human behavior and into people. Once you understand those things, once you can you see things around you and you recognize it from the things that you studied, from cases that you looked at, that gives you confidence that is just worth its weight in gold. And in my experience, that's really instrumentally what history can give you. Okay, so looking at leadership through history is very different from looking at leadership as a kind of formula, because this is another thing that people often do. It's like there are formulas to leadership, there are principles, there's like tips about how to be what has worked? What did people do in the past? Let's be realistic, let's be concrete. Well, here's history that actually shows us these things empirically, not theoretically. And that's what we try to do. I mean, that's what leadership in history means for me.